the prodigy born. The boy was different from the moment he held a golf club. In a small house in Cypress, California, Tiger Woods, born Elder Taunt Woods, gripped a cut-down putter before he could fully walk. His father, Earl, a stern, retired Army colonel, watched with quiet astonishment as the toddler mimicked the swings he'd seen on television. By the time Tiger was 3, he appeared on national TV, sinking putts with an eerie calmness, while the host looked on in disbelief. But this wasn't a novelty act. It was the beginning of something far greater. Earl believed his son was chosen, not just to succeed, but to change the world. With a soldier's discipline and a father's obsession, he charted Tiger's every step. Days were structured around drills, mental exercises, and silent observation. Their modest backyard became a sanctuary, the tight grass a proving ground for a legend in the making. Where most children played freely, Tiger practiced, and he rarely complained. He didn't need to. The game spoke to him. His mother, Kultada, quietly anchored the household. Of Thai, Chinese, and Dutch descent, she brought a different kind of strength, silent, spiritual, unwavering. From her, Tiger inherited a quiet focus, a cultural reverence for patience and control. She rarely raised her voice, but when she spoke, it stayed with him. "You are not ordinary," she once whispered in Thai, "so don't live like you are." By the time Tiger was 8, he was winning junior tournaments with scores that made older players shake their heads. Spectators gathered not just to watch, but to witness. He was small, polite, even shy, but his swing was ferocious, his mind surgical. He didn't celebrate victories loudly. A slight nod, a glance toward Earl. Approval mattered more than applause. Yet in those early victories, a quiet pressure built. Wherever he played, people whispered, not just about his skill, but about his skin. He was often the only black child on the course, sometimes the only non-white one at all. Golf wasn't built for kids like him, but that, Earl insisted, was precisely why he had to conquer it. As he entered his teens, the tournaments grew tougher, the expectations heavier. But Tiger thrived. At 15, he won his first U.S. Junior Amateur title. At 16, he appeared on the PGA Tour as an amateur. The headlines followed. The chosen one, golf's future, unstoppable force. He moved with a purpose beyond his years, speaking little, smiling even less. When he stepped on the ground to Stanford University, a scholarship in hand, the path seemed inevitable. Greatness wasn't coming. It was already here. But behind the brilliance was a boy still learning, who was outside the fairways. And though his swing seemed perfect life, he would soon learn, wasn't built to follow the same rhythm. The rise of a legend, the roar that followed Tiger's final putt at the 1997 Masters, didn't sound like golf. It was louder, wilder, something closer to a stadium chant than the polite claps of Augusta National. At just 21, Tiger Woods didn't just win the Masters, he rewrote it. A record-breaking 12-stroke victory, the youngest champion ever, and the first black man to wear the green jacket. His father waited just beyond the final hole, arms wide. Their embrace was silent, heavy with everything unsaid, a bond forged through discipline, now sealed in history. In that moment, golf changed. Sponsors raced to attach themselves to the phenomenon. Nike, Titleist, American Express. He became a brand before he finished becoming a man. Commercials didn't just sell products. They sold a story, a precision of pride, of defiance. Tiger didn't just win. He dominated. His swing, a blend of grace and power, redefined what was possible on the course. His eyes, always scanning, calculating, never flinched under pressure. But beneath the accolades, the pressure mounted. Every tournament was a stage. Every missed shot, a headline. Some cheered him as a savior. Others scrutinized his every move. For every child who looked up to him as a beacon, there was an old guard whispering that he didn't belong, that he was changing a game that preferred tradition over transformation. Tiger didn't speak often, but his silence held weight. He answered criticism not with words, but with trophies, major after major, shattering records once considered untouchable. He won the U.S. Open by 15 strokes, held all 4 majors at once, something the sport had never seen. They called it the Tiger Slam. With success came isolation. Fans adored him, but few knew him. His smile practiced, his interviews controlled. He traveled with a tight inner circle, his team, his trainers, and most crucially, his father. Earl remained a constant presence, offering encouragement, challenge, and the occasional reprimand. He was the architect of Tiger's ascent, and his shadow loomed long. Outside the ropes, Tiger sought something resembling a normal life. He married Ellen Nordegren, a Swedish model with a quiet demeanor that mirrored his own. Their wedding was private, their photos guarded. He became a father, balancing diapers with driving ranges, baby bottles with backswings. But fame doesn't grant privacy, it erodes it. Even as his image graced billboards and cereal boxes, Tiger struggled to reconcile the myth with the man. He was no longer just a golfer. He was a symbol, a machine, a multi-million-dollar empire built on perfection. And perfection, he would soon learn, is the most fragile illusion of all, the fall from grace. It began with a crash, metal against bark, glass against silence. Thanksgiving night, 2009. Tiger's SUV veered off the driveway and hit a fire hydrant before slamming into a tree, a shattered window, a collapsed image. The man who once seemed unshakable now lay exposed, not by injury, but by truth. What followed wasn't recovery. It was revelation. Allegations surfaced, one by one. Stories of affairs. Dozens. Women from every corner of the country. Each tabloid exposed another fracture in the myth. The controlled, composed Tiger Woods had lived a double life, hidden behind his swing and his silence. The media storm was instant, ruthless. Headlines no longer praised. They ridiculed. Late-night hosts turned him into a punchline. Brands fled. Accenture, AT&T, Gatorade, gone. Even Nike hesitated. The public didn't just lose a hero. They watched him unravel in real time. Ellen, once the picture of quiet support, filed for divorce. Their family, once protected from the world, became its centerpiece. Paparazzi followed his every move. His children, young and unaware, became backdrops in a story not of victory, but betrayal. And Tiger, for the first time, disappeared. He issued an apology, stiff, rehearsed, sorrowful. But apologies couldn't rebuild trust. He checked into rehab for sex addiction, then later for painkillers. His body, once a machine, began to fail. Back spasms, knee surgeries, nerve damage. On the course, he missed cuts, withdrew mid-round, and fell out of the top rankings entirely. Once feared, now pitted. His swing looked unfamiliar. His presence hollow. Without Earl, who had died in 2006, Tiger lacked the guiding voice that once steadied him. Alone in his mansion, shielded from the world he once ruled, he confronted the cost of being both legend and liar. The golf world moved on. New stars emerged. The crowds that once chanted his name with reverence now watched him with curiosity. Will he break again? And yet, even in disgrace, Tiger remained fascinating. He could have quit, retired into wealth, vanished into luxury. But something in him refused. Even at his lowest, arrested in 2017 for a DUI, his mugshot plastered across the internet, he held on to a sliver of purpose. Behind his exhausted eyes and graying stubble, there was a man clawing toward something. Not forgiveness, not glory, something quieter, something simpler. A chance to start over, not as Tiger the icon, but as Tiger the man. Redemption and return. Redemption, when it finally came, didn't arrive in a blaze. It crept in, slow, uncertain, hard-earned. Tiger Woods no longer walked with the same swagger. His back, fused by surgery, moved cautiously. His eyes, once sharp with defiance, now carried the weight of humility. In public, he spoke more openly. No longer guarded, but measured. He was no longer chasing invincibility. He was chasing peace. He returned to golf not with a roar, but with a whisper. Small tournaments, shaky finishes, doubters at every turn. Analysts declared him done. Younger players had taken over. The age of Tiger was over. But each time he stepped onto the green, something stirred. His swing, reworked, restrained, lacked its former violence, but his mind remained sharp. Strategy replaced dominance. Patience replaced power. He wasn't chasing ghosts. He was becoming whole. In 2018, he won the Tour Championship, his first victory in 5 years. The galleries stormed the fairway, thousands of fans behind him, not just watching, but walking with him. He was no longer untouchable. He was one of them, flawed, tested, resilient. But it was 2019 that carved his second legacy. Augusta, the Masters, the course where it all began. Now 43, with fused vertebrae and decades of baggage, he faced younger, stronger opponents. But on that Sunday afternoon, Tiger didn't overpower the course. He outthought it. Hole by hole, he rose up the leaderboard. Fans held their breath. Golf, for a moment, belonged to him again. As he sank the final putt, the gallery erupted. He raised his arms, not with cocky triumph, but with quiet disbelief. Then he turned, not to the crowd, but to his son, waiting just off the green. In an image that mirrored the embrace he once shared with Earl, Tiger hugged his boy tightly. This time, no words were needed. The past and present met in a single, tear-streaked moment. The redemption wasn't just in the win. It was in the journey. In proving that a man could fall, shatter, and rebuild, not as a replica of his former self, but as something deeper. Tiger didn't need to dominate anymore. He had already changed the sport. Now, he had changed the narrative. From prodigy to icon, from scandal to survivor. His story became a testament, not to perfection, but to perseverance. And as the sun dipped over Augusta, one thing became clear. The world had seen Tiger Machine. Then Tiger the Broken. Now, they saw Tiger the Human.